Yo, welcome everybody to another Rocket Devlog. In today's video, I'm going to be talking a bit about saving and how I implemented saving. Now, as you can probably guess, my job today, or the job I gave myself, was to do saving. And what I mean by saving is playing the game for some time, closing the game, and then reopening the game at a later time, and the game maintains the state that it was in before you closed it. So it pretty much is a matter of compiling all the information about the game, putting it somewhere on your local hard drive, and then being able to extract that at some later time. So the reason I did this today is actually maybe not what you would expect. So my game at the moment is probably about 45 minutes long. Um, Maybe you might want to play that in two playthroughs, but realistically, I think most people are playing that in one. So it seems kind of like a strange idea to do saving because it's not like anyone's actually playing the game and then resuming it at a later date. Presumably, if they're playing it again at a later date, they want to start from the start, which is true. Which is why saving is actually not in the published version, even though saving is relatively functionally complete on my end. Um, so the reason I'm implementing saving is pretty much this line here. So what I've done is I've created this save manager, which I'll explain a bit how that works in a couple of minutes. But I play through the game, and then I've got this line here, up here, that actually stores the save each time I go through a day. So I've got a bunch of saves. This is the save for day 20, as you can see by the name up here. And so these saves, what I can do is I can actually open up the game and then just boot up the day 20 save without having to progress to day 20 every time I want to test something that happens to occur on day 20. So this is really important for things like Bleak, like testing the late game, and I don't have to like manually play through the game. Or even what I had set up before was that I would have these debug buttons that I would use to give myself some amount of minerals. And these were okay at testing things, but there was kind of this bottleneck where I would have to open it up, give myself some number of minerals, play a couple of rounds and wait for something to appear, wait for something to happen maybe, and then I would be able to test what I was trying to test. And this was really inefficient. So now I've just got this folder, and I wonder if I can find it, of all of these saves. So I'm able to go through and look at all of these saves. And I'll show you guys what these saves actually look like. I'm storing them in, I believe, in here. So there's just this list of saves. And these .save files are just that one I showed you before. So now what are these actually? So if you open up one of these files, you'll be greeted with this. And this is human intelligible. This is actually, like, you can probably read this and understand what this all means. It's pretty much just storing all of the important pieces of information about the game in this current state in time, such that I'm able to recreate pretty much this current state of the game. There are a couple of things that aren't in there, just because they didn't really need to be, because I'm not actually pushing this to prod. I'm not like releasing this. But things like I'm able to, load up this save and it'll give me day 20. I'll have discovered all of these minerals. I'll have this number, this amount of each mineral. These will be the rates for the exchange rates for gold. These are the states that I've discovered. This is if I've read the dialogue or not, which is good in case, I don't want to have to spam the read dialogue or the speech options every time I interact with the character. So it stores all this information. Now, at a later date, I do want to actually put this into some encryption system, just so you can't go in and modify it yourself. But yeah, and then the way this does this is literally, so I open up the game, and then at the end of each day, it calls this save manager.store save function. And then here I just pass in the name of the save. So I'm going to call each save day 1, day 2, day 3, so I can keep track of them and what they mean. And then I've got this save manager file, which I created here. And there's got pretty much three main functions, I guess. So the first is storing the save. So what this does is it just collects all of the information about the game. It kind of gets this nice little package to put everything in. then it puts everything in that package. Oh, whoops. It puts everything in that package, and there is a bit of finickiness around getting this. But mostly, or for the most part, it was pretty chill. And then it just writes it to a file, and it stores it all there. And then it like discards the save file, like it doesn't have it open anymore. And then the second function is loading the save. So then it just takes in some name, and it pretty much does the opposite thing. So it just goes through the save file, gets all of the information, and puts it into where it needs to go. Like, for example, the amount of minerals, the amount of amethyst you might have. It takes that number, and then it gives it to the player, and then the player stores that, and then you're able to just, kick off where you left off. The third function is just checking if there is a save there. And so this is so incredibly helpful for testing. And I actually really recommend you do this yourself very early on in development. Me personally, I actually, this is kind of my first time implementing this early on in development. One of the reasons is because this incremental game is very linear. Like the state of the game changes quite a bit. Even though it looks quite similar from the start and the end, it actually changes quite a bit. So with Fish TDX and Bug TDX, if I'm adding a new tower, all I really need to do is put the tower on the map and make sure it can shoot properly, because there's nothing that happens any different between placing the tower at the start of the game and placing it at the end of the game. Something interesting I did do for that is I created like a testing script, which pretty much I would run, and then it would place every tower in every possible situation to like check if there were any bugs or anything. But that's probably a story for another time. But that was what I did today. It's actually what I did yesterday. So today's video, or next week's video, is going to look quite similar to this. I'll have the same hair and everything. But yeah, so that was what I was able to get done, plus a whole bunch of balancing. Plus, I've got some really cool stuff for you next week in relation to the scientist, because I decided it needs a bit of a rework. And yeah, I won't spoil anything. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do go and play the demo if you do see this video out. It means quite a bit. Another big thing I did, which I think I mentioned in the last video, was doubling the asteroid spawn rate, which just makes the game so much better. The flow is so much nicer. But I'll talk a bit more about that, kind of those balancing changes in the next video. Thank you so much to Hugo Games and Sharang for being the Day 1 members. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.